For those of you who are taking applied linguistics, I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing a couple of templates that I think you'll find useful as you begin your research projects. So I'd like to draw your attention from the main page here to Pages, which is accessible here on the left-hand side of your screen under Pages. Then on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see two different templates. Now, if they don't appear here in recent changes, you can also click All Pages and scroll down, and you should see the two templates here at the bottom. So we'll talk mainly about this first template, problem and argument template, and then briefly we'll talk about the action research template. So this first template here includes different sections regarding the problem, argument, conclusion, research questions, and rhetorical pattern. So as you get started with your research, these are some things you need to consider. Now realize that as you get into your project a little bit more, some of this information that you fill out at the beginning of the semester could change. But it's important to be thinking about these things here getting started, as I think it'll help you as you plan and implement your research. So the first thing you need to consider is a problem, and when you consider your problem, think about some past experience that you've had either as a teacher or as an English language learner. Think about a problem that you've had personally or one that you have seen others have, and obviously a problem that you find interesting and a problem that you feel, after knowing more about the problem, you feel will help you improve more as a teacher. Now, once you have maybe one or two problems in mind that you think that you want to research, the second part of that is to actually go through and try to find some articles where other experts have researched the same problem, or they've researched the same problem, maybe not within the exact same context that you're considering, but maybe in another context. But it's very important that you're able to find this information, because if in fact you are unable to find other experts who've researched this problem, then you need to consider a different problem. So very quickly, I'd like to draw your attention to the virtual online library that I think you'll find useful when you try to find the articles or the research that you need to support your problem. And the type of research at this stage is very important, and I would only focus on primary research articles. For now, I would avoid any books, any basically secondary or tertiary types of research, but only focus on primary research articles. And I think you, for the most part, can access one individual database for most of the articles that you'll need. So if you go to the university webpage here under Students, under Alumnos, you can go into Library here, Digital Library, and we want to go for subscription databases. And I would begin with EBSCO. If you aren't able to find what you need in EBSCO, you can also refer to ERIC, which is, I think this is under the free subscriptions or the open access. And if you click on here's the ERIC database, and this is a free database as well. I typically start with EBSCO host. So we'll go here and click Academic Research, and you'll enter your ID and password here. Now, as you enter this database, make sure that you click Complete Text and Peer-Reviewed Articles, because these are not checked by default when you first enter into the database. Once you've made these selections, then you'll go up here and select the word or words that you wish to use as keywords for search terms. Now, this is very important too, because if in the event that you're unable to find certain articles for your research, make sure that you try a variety of different key terms, and a lot of times you'll be able to find what you need just by selecting the right terms. Remember that if you do include a phrase and you want to include, for example, English language learners, and you want to search only that phrase, use the quotation marks as so. And then you could also then add additional terms here. These operators you can also use or not. again, most of the problems that we've found when it comes to searching for certain articles, we've just been using the wrong key terms. So just a couple of tips here when you do your Boolean search to make sure you can hopefully find what you need. If in the event you are unable to find certain research that's linked to your problem, then you will need to search for a different topic. Now, going back to the template here, once you've decided on a problem, then you need to develop an argument, and you can do so by creating a brief outline in this section that displays the order in which you want to present your information or your premises. And I'd like to take a few minutes now to give you some typical patterns that you might want to consider as you think about putting in order your information. Now, I know even though you're just getting started with your research, it's a good idea to start thinking about this now, and because this could influence the way in which you develop your instruments and or your data collections or your procedure. So I'd like to reference a few reasoning patterns that are outlined in this book, The Literature Review, 6 Steps to Success. This is a book that was published in 2009 by Machi and McVoy. Very good book, highly recommend it. But I'd like to discuss 4 reasoning patterns that they mention in this book. The first being one-on-one reasoning. Now, the one-on-one reasoning is the simplest form of reasoning pattern. And it's basically looking at just one reason as being enough to justify one conclusion. So the simplest example might be, because my alarm clock went off, it's time to go to work. So this would be one example of a reasoning pattern, and probably not one that you want to rely on just in and of itself. But as we look at some of these other reasoning patterns, you'll see the importance of a one-on-one reasoning. But this is the most simplest pattern, and one that I would not necessarily recommend that you focus only on. But we'll see some other examples of where one-on-one reasoning will come into play. Now, the second reasoning pattern is the side-by-side reasoning pattern. So the side-by-side reasoning pattern basically is taking a collection of reasonings or premises and converging those into one conclusion. If you look at the example of the weather, if we say the weatherman on channel 5 says it's going to rain tomorrow, the weatherman on channel 4 says it's going to rain tomorrow, the weatherman on channel 2 says it's going to rain tomorrow, and maybe we even check the internet and we see the Weather Channel also indicating that it is in fact going to rain tomorrow. So we take a collection of all of those reasoning patterns and we converge those into one conclusion, and that conclusion is that it is going to rain tomorrow. So that would be an example of a side-by-side reasoning. This is a very common reasoning pattern, and one you should consider when thinking of taking evidence from outside experts and bringing in all of those premises from all those different experts and converging those into a conclusion that links to the problem that you've stated or the argument that you want to support. Side-by-side reasoning, very good option for you to consider for one of the reasoning patterns. The third reasoning pattern is a chain reasoning pattern, and think of this as being a reason causes a conclusion, and that conclusion, conclusion 1, then becomes the premise for a second conclusion. The conclusion for number 2 actually becomes the third premise, which then links to a third conclusion. So you need all of those in succession to be able to draw a certain conclusion. So you might look at the following example. Let's look at teachers' pay, and we say that increasing teacher pay allows teachers to further their education because they have more money now to invest in, let's say, higher education or more outside courses that might help them in the profession. Then we might say that increased education results in a better performance in the classroom. Better performance in the classroom results to a higher achievement level among students. Higher achievement level among students is linked to better job opportunities in the workplace or in the workforce, etc. So you see here, these are examples of how one event is actually a cause and effect of another, and it's just a chain of events. If you break any of those events within that chain, then it breaks or distorts or disrupts the entire argument. So chain reasoning is a third example, probably your second reasoning pattern that you might consider for your action research project. The last example, joint reasoning, is a pattern that you need all of these different reasoning patterns to justify a conclusion. If you lack any one of those individually, would not result in a conclusion. But the collection of those reasonings or those premises would in fact result into a conclusion. An example. Let's say we take the following two reasonings and we draw a conclusion. One reasoning is that we have a lower temperature. We might look at these as premises. So we have one premise that we have lower temperatures, and we also have another premise, precipitation. So if we take those two together, lower temperatures and precipitation, then we can come to the conclusion that it could snow. But if we take each one of those individually and we just look at lowering temperatures, that in and of itself would not cause it to snow. Similarly, if we just look at the fact that there is precipitation or there's a likelihood of precipitation without considering temperature, we can't draw a conclusion that's likely to snow. But if we draw those two and converge those and consider both of those in a joint reasoning pattern, then we can in fact conclude that it's going to snow. We have lower temperatures and we have the fact that we have precipitation. So these are four different reasoning patterns that you might want to consider. Specifically, the last three are viable reasoning patterns for our action research or participatory action research project that we're involved with for this course. So consider those reasoning patterns as you begin planning, and this will be included in the rhetorical pattern that we have here in your template. So we'll include the rhetorical pattern, which is one of these patterns here. You will be asked to do an argumentative paper, but you might also include some of these other rhetorical patterns as well, kind of under the umbrella of an argumentative, persuasive essay. So in the rhetorical pattern, you'll need to include the rhetorical patterns that you've seen in other courses, and you'll need to also include which reasoning pattern that you feel is most appropriate based on your research questions and your hypothesis. Now, I'm kind of jumping around here. We talked about argument and rhetorical pattern. Okay, these are kind of lumped together. And their argument, just remember that you need a brief outline, and this is where you'll include at least 4 or 5 premises where you will show or demonstrate the reasoning pattern that you want to use. In the rhetorical pattern, you're going to specifically mention which reasoning pattern you're using and also which rhetorical pattern or patterns that you'll be following as well. So these two are very much linked, the rhetorical pattern section and the argument. In the conclusion, this is simply 1 or 2 statements where you link the problem with your argument. Now this next section, you will include research questions if you're going to do a qualitative research study, or hypothesis if you're doing quantitative research. If you're doing mixed methods, then you'll have both research questions and a hypothesis. Remember that the research that you're conducting sets out to answer the research questions. So you'll probably won't have more than 3 research questions for this project. But just remember as you plan and implement your study that the objective here is to answer your research questions. And those research questions should tie into the conclusion or the argument and problem that you set out here above. Okay, so again, I wanted to share briefly this template with you. This is very important getting started here as we are in the planning stages at the beginning of the semester, but also one that you need to reflect on throughout the semester and change accordingly. But having to fill this out within the first 2 weeks will give both of us kind of an opportunity to communicate which direction you'd like to take your research, and just to make sure that it is feasible, doable, and that you have some sort of logical approach as you get started. Now I want to share briefly the participatory action research template, and this is the template that we'll be using throughout the semester, and you'll be asked to fill this out as we go through the process of completing your project. And we also have another page where at the beginning of the semester you'll be asked to create a brief abstract. Now, because you're just starting at the beginning of the semester, just fill out the relative information that you know getting started. This information can be changed as you obtain the findings for your research, but you'll also need to include here a link to the problem and argument page and your project page itself, which will be both two separate Google documents that you'll be linked and shared here for everyone to view. So I've included a few bullet points here, and the idea is just to go in and edit this page and add your name and the rest of the information here. Each one of you will have a bullet point, and you can just continue adding your names and projects here at the bottom. So as we get started this semester, these are a few templates I think that will help you organize your thoughts. Feel free to contact me via the Canvas email system, or obviously ask me in class if you have any questions or doubts. We will be discussing this in greater length in class, but I wanted to create the short video to kind of give you an overview of this and point of reference here going forward as you develop your research. I look forward to seeing your research projects, and we'll talk to you soon.